Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. Hey, this video is a little bit overdue. I've shown you this watch briefly in another video, but I haven't given you a good review of this watch. This is one of the watches that I recently purchased when I was looking around all the different Walmart stores, probably within about a 50-mile radius as I was out and about doing my thing. I saw this, and it was clearance priced at just $25, so I couldn't resist. Now, I've got it next to these others because all the watches you see here feature Casio's triple sensor. That's an altimeter using a barometer. So the barometer is one sensor, thermometer is another sensor, and also there's a compass, a digital compass built in on each of these watches. Now these watches here are ProTrek watches, and so they're a little bit pricey. This one in particular, and this one's very similar, but titanium. This is also titanium. I got these. I found some good discount deals on these. This one I paid, I think, full price for this. Now over here on the other side, though, you've got this is a G-Shock. This one also has the triple sensor, but it's not a ProTrek. It's a G-Shock, and then this one is neither a ProTrek nor a G-Shock, and so you're going to get some a little bit of a price break on this normally. So I happen to get a great deal, that Walmart clearance price that I just can't really explain. They wanted $25 for this, so that's a far cry from what you'll pay for your big G-Shock or your big ProTrek watches. Normally, though, you would see this for somewhere in the range of $70 to $85. If you look around online, some of the the normal places you would look for these, Amazon and eBay and other places that are, reputable places online, you can find this for somewhere up to about $85. There's also another version of this that has kind of the negative LCD or the reverse LCD display. And there's another one where, you see, this has kind of some blue accents on the face. There's one that has kind of some orange accents on the face, and it's going to cost quite a bit more. But that other one with the orange on it has a very interesting watch band. So, boy, I like it. But anyway, I couldn't pass up $25 for this. You would easily pay, close to $200 for this guy over here, and you're getting into the hundreds of dollars on these ProTreks as well, especially when you're talking titanium and just all kinds of great stuff here. So, but anyway, let's concentrate on this one for now. Yeah, so please allow me to formally introduce the SGW-1000 with, again, a couple of variations of this that I'm aware of, but this is the most common one you're going to find here in the US market. It uses module 3439, so you can look up that module on their website from Casio, and you can download the manual and learn all about it. Functions and features very similar to those more expensive ProTrek and G-Shock watches I showed you a moment ago. However, one thing you're gonna notice about this one, it does not have the solar power that those other ones did. It does not have the atomic timekeeping, wave scepter or multi-band 6 technology in it. So you will have to change the battery about every 2 years. You will have to manually set the time if you want to keep it perfectly synchronized to atomic time. So you take away those features, and you still have a pretty solid watch. Now, I recently took this one hiking. Yes, I went hiking, which, I'm not really in shape for it, but I did. And I saw some great scenery. I saw some salmon that were in spawning mood. And so, yeah, I had to go. And because the salmon were running, I couldn't wait. But I should have planned ahead a few months ago to get into shape for it. But anyway, on my hike, this watch it kind of brushed up against a lot of brush and tree branches and stuff along the side of the trail. So it got hit a few times just gently, and not a scratch on it. It held up really well. It's not as tough as a G-Shock, of course, and I can't guarantee, your mileage may vary, as they say online. But I did take this on an actual hike for a few hours, and it came out looking just great. All right, so let me tell you a few more things about this one. Officially, this has 10 modes. Yeah, so let's just go through them. So if I press the mode button, which is this one here on the left side lower portion there, first mode is actually going to show you the sunrise and sunset times for well, today's date, or you can actually scroll ahead by pushing this button here on the bottom right, and it'll show you sunrise and sunset times scrolling ahead, you know, for the next few days. You can just kind of keep holding it down and really move ahead. Or if you press this button here on the upper right, it will scroll the opposite direction. And so if you're planning any outdoor adventures and you need to know the sunrise or sunset times, there you go. Now, next mode is, this is where you can actually recall some items that you've stored in memory. So while I was hiking, a few times I saved the altitude information. And so this is showing me that on the 16th of September at 9:42 a.m., that was the altitude reading that I had. And I can kind of scroll through here and see how, you know, later that morning I had gone up considerably in my hike to over 6,000 feet. And so, you know, that's the mode where you can recall some of these things that you've saved as far as, you know, altitude and the time. Next mode is a stopwatch. I've got this running right now. It's been running for, several days. This stopwatch will go 1,000 hours. So if you run it that long, it will then reset to 0 and keep going. But if you need to time anything up to, you know, just over 41 full days, you know, that's where your stopwatch is. And then down here, it shows you the local time while the stopwatch is running. So that's kind of nice. Very similar functions to any stopwatch. You know, you can start and stop it with this button here on the lower right side. Other buttons to do your split time or to reset it. But I'm going to keep it going because, you know, I want to see, you know, what it looks like when it turns over 999 hours, 59 minutes, 50, you know, the whole bit. So it's hours, minutes, seconds, and tenths of a second. The next mode is your countdown timer. And this is up to a 24-hour countdown timer. So if you set it to all zeros and start it with that button there, it's a true 24-hour countdown timer. Let's reset that. If you want to adjust that, I'm going to hold down this adjust button here on the upper left side and hold that until things start to blink. And that's where you can choose, you know, customize hours. Then I press the mode button down here, and then we can select minutes as well. So hours and minutes, and then you can, you know, count that down as you please. Okay, I'll reset this though. There. Alarm. So first of all, I like to turn on an hourly signal so it beeps every hour on the hour, but you can turn that on and off. Here also, you've got a snooze alarm, and right now that's set to off, and 4 other regular alarms. So when you're in this mode, you can scroll through forward using this lower button to look at the different alarms and turn them on or off, or this one to go backwards. So let's say if I said, well, I'm going to be in a meeting, I don't want to make noise, so I want to turn the that hourly signal off. So it turns out the way to turn that on or off is to use this middle button marked barometer here on the right side. So there's your hourly signal off, and see a little icon was there when it was on, now it's off. Okay, as far as the alarms as well, now if I do that, then there's a symbol to show that the alarm is active, and that tells you the 6 a.m. alarm is on or off there. If I wanted to change the alarm time here, I would hold that, and then it allows me to choose, you know, different hour and minute settings for, you know, each of the alarms. Like I said, you got 4 regular alarms. The 5th one is a snooze alarm. So the regular alarms, when the alarm time arrives, it'll go for 10 seconds. It'll beep for 10 seconds and then it stops. And it'll go every day as long as that is turned on. Okay. As for the snooze alarm, it'll go for 10 seconds if you turn it on. And it will do that at the time you've specified. And then 5 minutes later, it'll do it again. 5 minutes later, it'll do it again. It'll keep doing it for a total of 7 times or half an hour. And then it'll stop and won't bug you again until, you know, the next day. Or you can, you know, make it stop at any time during that half hour when it would be running. So, all right, and this is very similar to other G-Shock and other Casio watches that I have. Okay, the next mode is your world time mode. So you can select another time zone. It shows you your local time here, and it shows you the time in that other time zone there. I've set it to UTC for now, but if I push this button down here, it's as though I'm going eastward on the map, and it starts showing me the times in those other time zones. If I push this here, it's as though I'm going back westward on the map. And it's just that easy to choose another time zone and have it showing here in the world time mode. Next mode is well, we're back to the local time, regular timekeeping mode. Okay, I wanted to show you that when you're in timekeeping mode, this little box here can show you 3 different views. And what you do is you just tap this adjust button, and there it shows you the day of the week and the date in that format. Or it can show you the month and date in that format. Or it can show you this little barometric pressure trend in that format. So your choice in timekeeping mode of what you want to do with that little screen up there. And then they count this as another mode, the altimeter mode. Okay, so I push the altimeter button there, and that's showing me, the current elevation. And then if I hit the barometer button here, that's going to show me what is the barometric pressure. And also right there is showing me the temperature. Now, the thermometer, is actually built into the watch. So right now it's not really 85 degrees in this room, but since I've been handling this watch, it's picking up some of the heat from my hands. That's one thing that people kind of complain about is, well, the thermometer is never right because it's picking up too much of my body heat. Well, okay, if I really wanted to know the temperature here in this room without the influence of the heat from my hands, then I would simply take the watch off and leave it by itself for, 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and then it should give you a pretty accurate reading after that. And right here, it's showing you the barometric pressure trend, so that's kind of a nice feature there. It's showing me that, okay, it was kind of steady for a little while, it's gone down, back up, so that's showing me, the last several hours of a barometric pressure trend in that barometer mode. And then here's the compass mode, digital compass. And in addition to that showing you your heading there, it's got a little something here. These 3 little dots here are showing what this is sensing as north. So, if I turn this way, and it's kind of an awkward camera angle because you should, right now this is not the face of the watch is not perfectly level parallel with the ground, but for the best reading on your digital compass, you'd want to turn it up to where it is, kind of level with the ground. And so in this case, that is north there, and it's showing me my heading is, 2 degrees or 3 degrees. So yeah, it's pretty good right there near 0 for a north heading. And then if I turn it this way, and I say, well, I actually want to go this direction, then it's showing me, okay, there's my heading is, 82 degrees there, and north is up there. Oh, and I've lost my reading. But anyway, I can restart that. And all right, so I'm back to regular timekeeping mode. So those are all the modes, okay? You also have a light button here. It's a very nice backlight. I'll show you that in a moment. And, you've got some indicators here around the face of the watch. It's not too busy, pretty straightforward, pretty clear readout of the time. Now, if you got this watch, it was brand new and you wanted to set it up, you'd go from the regular timekeeping mode here and you'd hold down this adjust button until things start to blink, okay? And there you go. So the first thing you want to do is set your home city. In my case, it would be the Denver time zone. So, you select your time zone based on abbreviations for the major city in that time zone. So Chicago would be, that time zone, New York, and again, it's as though you're scrolling eastward on the map when you push this button down here, or the upper button, it's as though you're going back westward on the map. So all the time zone information is based off what have you selected for your local time zone, in this case, Denver. Now, if I press this mode button while things are still blinking, then this is where I can have daylight saving time, and I can have it either be on or off. right here. So, right now I've got it on because, for a few more weeks we are on daylight saving time here in my time zone. All right, next I push the mode button, and this is where I can select either a 12-hour or 24-hour display, and that will affect the display in all the modes. So if I want to see like my world time mode and see UTC as Zulu time with a 24-hour display, I would do this, and then it would show up that way. I'm going to keep it on the AM, PM 12-hour mode for now. And this is where you can manually set the time, seconds, hours, and minutes. Also set the date here manually, year, and month, and day of the month. Okay, this is key meaning like a musical note. So when this says key, then every time you change modes or you start a stopwatch or stop it or a countdown timer, you're going to hear a little bit of a beep, but you can mute that by selecting mute instead of key. So it says mute up there. Also, you get a little symbol there that stays on the face of the watch all the time, that shows, it looks like a little musical note with a line through it to show you that that's muted. So you still get the alarms, you'll still hear that. And at the end of a countdown timer, it's still going to beep, but it's just not going to beep every time you press a button as it would if you had the key active instead of mute. So, okay, next, the backlight. You can have the backlight stay on for either 3 seconds or 1.5 seconds, and this is where you select that. Now, you may want to keep it on the shorter duration if you're worried about wearing down the battery, or if you just don't really use the backlight very much, you can go ahead and leave it on the 3-second duration. Again, if you're not going to use it, several times a day. But just keep that in mind. It may affect the battery life on this. And next, this is where you select your units. So if you want feet, inches of mercury, and Fahrenheit, as I do, that's where you see that. Or you could change it. Let's see. I just pressed altitude, and it changed from feet to meters. If I press barometer, it changes to hectopascals or inches of mercury. And let's see, if I press compass in this mode, it selects either Fahrenheit or Celsius. So I'm going to go back to how it was. And next, okay, now you're back to the beginning to set your home city. There's one other thing you can set here, and I'm going to talk about now the sunrise and sunset feature. So I'm going to get out of the adjust mode here and just quickly show you, okay, from the regular timekeeping mode, let's go. I'm going to press this mode button once, and this is showing me sunrise and sunset times. So, but the thing is, because I just recently changed this to the Denver time zone, by default, this is showing me sunrise and sunset times in Denver. Now, I just looked it up, and on the chart I found, it showed that today's sunrise time was 6:55. So, it's pretty close. Whatever this watch is using to calculate that, it's still pretty close to what I found on the timeanddate.com website. Sunset, according to timeanddate.com, is 6:42 today. So, it's close enough, right? But this is not the same as the sunrise and sunset time in Salt Lake City, even though it's the same time zone. Salt Lake City is significantly west of Denver. So I want to adjust that and make that right. And here's how I do it. So if I go to the adjust mode, okay, and first if I hold this mode button down, it's going to take me right back to, okay, the timekeeping mode. Now I hold down adjust. Okay, and this is where it's going to prompt me to go through all those other settings. But if I push adjust, just tap the adjust button now, this is where it allows me to manually set the latitude and longitude. Okay, so right now it's set for Denver, 39.7 for the latitude. I want to change that to, let's say, Salt Lake City's latitude. So I'm going to press this altimeter button and take it up to about 40.7 for Salt Lake City. And then if I press mode now, longitude. So again, that's Denver's longitude at 105 degrees west, but I want it to be Salt Lake City's longitude And that, I'm going to have to push this button up here, the compass button, and increase that to, for Salt Lake City, it should be about 111.9 or so for Salt Lake City there. And now, okay, if I go to the sunrise and sunset, see, it's adjusted those times. So it's telling me, well, in Salt Lake City today, it's 7:20 for sunrise and 7:07 p.m. for sunset. And that's pretty close to what I was told by the timeanddate.com website. What if I were in Boise? That's the same time zone as Denver and Salt Lake City, but that's even farther west. I would just repeat this process. And now I'll go back here, go to my sunrise and sunset times, and wow, significantly different from Denver. So for Boise, 7:42, 7:27. And again, that's, my timeanddate.com says 7:41 and 7:26 for this. So, it's pretty good, pretty close. This watch has a nice little database in there. And based on the readings I gave it, it's showing me, pretty accurate for that's today's sunrise and sunset in Boise. If I want to just keep scrolling ahead, let's go to, a month from now, and then you see how that has changed for sunrise and sunset. And, it's kind of nice. I can look that information up right here on my watch. Now, if you're a serious outdoors enthusiast, you're going to find there are some things you can do, and even I don't want to get too in-depth and show you everything about how to use the altimeter and the barometer, but I'll start with the barometer, okay? So right now, I have a source that tells me the barometric pressure where I am. When I first got this watch, it wasn't really correct. It didn't agree with the source I had. But here, if I hold the adjust button, this allows me to fine-tune not only, right here, I could fine-tune the temperature. If I knew that this was wrong based on some other reference, then I could actually use these buttons to fine-tune that readout. If I press mode now, here's where I can fine-tune the readout of the barometer and make it so that it agrees with some reference that I trust. And once I've done that, I'm going to press the adjust button and stop adjusting that. Now I can go in and adjust the altimeter. So if I push altimeter, it's showing me, that is the altitude. It's a barometric altimeter. So, as the barometric pressure changes from day to day, before you start your hike or before you start whatever you need to use this reference for, you'll want to just go in here, hold the adjust button, and just make sure that you've set this to a known altitude reference. So I happen to know that where I am, the altitude is going to be closer to, maybe that 4995, 4990, where I am. So I would just adjust that. And again, before you start your little excursion every day, that would be something to do. So you could do this if you're going hiking, you're at the trailhead, and there may be a sign of the trailhead, or you've looked it up on a topographical map, and you know what is the altitude where you're starting your hike. You could just quickly make this adjustment before you start, and then as you're hiking that day, provided the barometric pressure doesn't swing wildly during that same day, you got a pretty good reference. And I think you'll find that when you go back to your starting point, you should see the same altitude there. There's all kinds of disclaimers in the owner's manual about just how much you should trust the altitude or the compass, the altimeter or the compass on this. They're basically saying, if you think it's going to be perfect, then you'll be disappointed. But I think it's a good reference, and just make sure you do know you've got some fine tuning there. Also with the compass, there's a way to calibrate this. This is a magnetic compass, so magnetic north is not true north, and in many locations that there's going to be a discrepancy there. So there are ways to adjust that discrepancy. I won't get into all the details there, but you can adjust the discrepancy so that you're seeing a more accurate reading here. Again, it's magnetic, And if you're used to using GPS that's not magnetic, showing you north, but you can adjust that. And those that are familiar with magnetic compasses know about declination and know about the need to compensate for magnetic north versus true north. So you have that. Now, if I were out there hiking, like I was, like here, and in the middle of my hike, I wanted to just record this reading, what I would do is I could just hold this altimeter button for just a moment, and there I go. So now, if I take it back to the regular timekeeping mode and go ahead a couple modes there, it's going to show me, okay, that was my starting point that day. But if I scroll through my saved readings, I'm eventually going to find out there's the one I just saved. So that's the key to using that save function. This little window here, since it's just the little dots, it's kind of a multi-purpose window. So sometimes it shows you little graphical things like that. Sometimes it shows you letters or numbers. And it even, if you've got a low battery, you got a little battery symbol that will show up here and blink to warn you of a low battery. So it's a nice little multi-purpose screen there within the LCD readout. Another thing I like on some of my watches, especially the ones that are rechargeable, is an automatic backlight when you're in the dark. So this thing, when you turn this towards yourself, then it's going to automatically activate the light there. So if it's just on your wrist and suddenly you put it in the position where you would be looking at it, it activates the night light. And the way to have that go automatically is you press and hold this light button. So right now LT is showing there on the display, meaning that the automatic backlight is turned on right now. But if I hold this button down, I can turn that off, and that's a way to save battery power. If I leave that off, then it's not going to be lighting up automatically every time I turn my wrist. But if I do want that, then I just hold that down, and there I go. Here's what it looks like in the dark when that light comes on. So, not bad at all. It's brighter than a lot of other Casio watches that I have. Just a nice, it looks more white than it does in this video. It looks more, it looks kind of blue here, but in real life, it's more of a whiter, and it's just nice and bright and clear. I like this. I find this to be a comfortable watch, a rather lightweight watch. Let me just put it on the scale here. Only 53 grams. That's comparable to some of the smaller G-Shock watches. Now, if I compare it quickly to one of these ProTrek watches, this one is titanium, so it's not super heavy, but still, significantly heavier. This Rangeman watch, look at that, 93. So, it's on the lighter side. It feels maybe not quite as solid as one of these big old G-Shocks, but it's not bad. And like I said, I took it on a hike. It came back without a scratch, even though I brushed up against some branches and some bushes with it, and doing just fine. A nice, simple, lightweight, yet comfortable resin watch band. And again, not a bad value at all, what I paid for it, but I think even if you're in the $70 and $80 price range and you can appreciate the triple sensor, I think you're looking at a pretty good value. So there you go. You may want to pay full price, or of course, if you see one at your local Walmart for a discount like I saw, I'd say jump on this right away. That's all for now, and I hope you will join me soon for yet another episode of The Good Timekeeping Show.